Hello everybody and welcome to the first video of CS 1410 Object-Oriented Programming. In this video we will start talking about classes and objects. So let's start with the expected outcome of this course. So after this module you will be able to understand the meaning of object-oriented programming, explain and distinguish between classes and objects, create classes and create class objects, call the objects methods, and we will try to utilize some useful string class methods. So we'll explore some useful string class methods and see how we can use them. And finally, we will get familiar with the ArrayList class and we will see how we can utilize that class. Now let's talk about Java classes. A Java class is a special construct that is going to hold data and methods. We have seen some examples like string class, scanner class, and system class. We also have seen some other examples like what we have been doing so far in 1400. So every program that we wrote is a Java class. Now, as we said, classes can be created by the programmer. We will have custom methods. We will be serving the programmer's purpose. So whatever we want to accomplish, we will put it as a functionality in that class. Again, examples are all the programs that we created so far. Now, a class can have a main method, but it's not always required. So what we have seen so far in 1400, the classes have main methods to run them. Now we said before that in order for you to be able to run your Java code, you will have to have a main method. So how will we be able to run this if we don't have a main method? The answer is we can have the main method in another class, and then we create an object from the class that we wanted and run the functionality, as we will see in an upcoming example in this video. So what are Java objects? I just said we will create Java objects and then we will use those. So an object is what gets created from a class. We use the keyword new, and the general syntax is we will have the class name, and then we'll have the object name is equal to a new, and then we'll have the class name again, and then we'll have some optional arguments. Now, to begin with, we'll not have any arguments, but later on we will see what those arguments are and how we can set those arguments. But we have seen some examples of arguments when we use scanner class. So the argument here is system.in. And one very popular, familiar one to us, which is when we create a string. Now, if you recall, a string is not one of the primitive data types. It's actually a class. So this is another way to create a string. String s is equal to new string, and then we leave empty parentheses, and that is going to give us an empty string. Or we can just place the string in there. This is totally equal to saying string s2 is equal to hi there in quotations, and then following this with a semicolon. Now this is an example of a Java Square class. Now as we can see in this example, we have the main method in there and we are running some of those methods in the class. So we have a method for area, another method for parameter, and then we have a method that is going to print the info of that Square class. Now I just said that we can have a class without a main method, and then we can run that as well. So let's try to recreate this Square class in a way that we will not have the main method in this class, but we will have it somewhere else and we will be able to run this same code. So I'm going to be using Eclipse here, and you are free to use whatever IDE that you want. And I will come right here and create a new class, and I will call my class Square. and then I will not have a main method in here, so I'll just click finish. Okay, now let me go back and see the methods that I have. I have an area method, I have parameter method, and then I have a string method that is going to give me the info of my square. So let me go back and define all of those. So I will start with the area method, and let's make it double. So public double, and then I will call it area, and this method is going to take a double, which is the side. You can make those integers, but then you will not be able to have any double, so that's why I made it double. And the area of the square is the side square, so I can just return side times side. You can use math class, but this is an easier way to write it down. And notice that I don't have the keyword static here because I don't need it, since I'm not going to be running this from this class, and I'm not going to run it from the main method directly. I'll use an object. We'll talk later about static keyword in more depth, but for right now we don't need it. Okay, now let me create another one for the parameter. So public double parameter, and I will also have the side here as my argument, and then what I need to return is 4 times side, and finally I can just have a void method here, public void get info, and again double side. And what I will do is I will just have print statements here. So I will say something like the side of the square is, and then I will provide side here, and then I will also say the area of the square is, and then I will need the area, so I can just go ahead and use the method that is going to give me the area. So I will say, okay, I need the area of this side, and I will do a similar thing with the perimeter. So I'll say the perimeter of the square is, and then I will just call this parameter method to give me the parameter with that giving side. Now if I compile this, is going to compile. If I run it, it's not going to give me anything because I don't have a main method. So what about the thing that I just said, that we can have a main method in another class? We usually call those the driver classes. So people tend to name them driver. You can do that. You can just create a new class, call it driver, but I usually like to call it something that is going to make sense for me, that this is the driver for this class, for example. So I'll call this square driver. Because I don't want a driver and then I don't know what this driver is. You don't have to call it driver, you can just call it demo if you want. But this is the one that is going to run this code, and we will need a main method. That's why I checked the main method right here. So I'll just click finish. Now in my main method, I just need to create some square. So I'll say square, and it needs to be uppercase. Let me call this s is equal to new square, and for now we won't have any arguments in our parentheses. Now my object is called S. I can access all of those methods in my square class using any object of that class. And in this case, as we said, S is an object of square class. So if I come right here and say something like S dot, you will see that I have area and I have get info and I will have perimeter. So these other methods are coming from the object class. See, this, it says object, but wherever you see square here, this is coming from square, this is coming from square, this is coming from square. Why do we have these others coming from object class? Because it's inheriting those from object class, and we will talk about this in more details when we come to inheritance. So for right now, I want to use the get info. So I'll say s.getInfo, and let me give it a side of 5. Save this and run it. And I just got my output here. The side of the square is 5, the area of the square is 25, and the perimeter is 20. So I was able to run my square class from another class, which is the driver class, and this shows you that we don't actually have to have a main method in the same class in order for us to be able to run that specific class.